Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're taking this really fascinating jump from the peaceful, restful serenity of Psalm 16, and we're abruptly plunging right into the severe crucible of Psalm 17. We're going to unpack this not just as a piece of ancient poetry, but as a definitive, highly structured legal and spiritual blueprint for facing mortal danger and false accusations. If you've ever felt surrounded by predatory forces or just absolutely squeezed by a hostile culture, well, this ancient text offers a brilliant operational manual for navigating it.
Picture this. Imagine stepping out your front door and realizing you've been targeted by a pack of stalking lions. Seriously, when you're surrounded by a predatory ecosystem, whether we're talking about physical danger, financial ruin, or severe false accusations, how do you actually fight back? And more importantly, how do you legally and spiritually fight back before the bench of heaven? Because David found himself in exactly this terrifying scenario.
All right, let's look at our docket for today. We'll be mapping this out in 4 steps. First, the deposition. Second, the plea for protection. Third, the prosecution. And finally, number 4, the verdict and precedent.
Starting right off with Act 1, the deposition.
This right here begins the formal filing of the case, and it establishes the stringent requirements for presenting a clean legal slate before the judge of all the earth. Look at the language David uses right out of the gate in verse 1. He doesn't start with some vague emotional plea for help. No, he explicitly demands a formal judicial hearing. He swears his testimony is completely free of deceitful lips. He's declaring under oath that his internal motives absolutely match his external words. And this brings us to a really foundational concept, the Hebrew word tzedek. He's presenting a just cause, or righteousness, before the ultimate judge. See, he knows you cannot just walk into the Supreme Court of Heaven to demand protection if your own hands are dirty. His entire legal deposition relies completely on his uncompromised commitment to true Torah alignment. Now, to prove this tzedek, David actually invites a terrifying level of divine scrutiny, an unannounced spiritual audit. Notice the timing here, visited in the night. The dark hours represent the time when the public mask comes off and the soul is laid bare. Yet, through rigid obedience, purposing that his mouth won't transgress and letting the word of Yahweh map out the minefields of human society, David emerges from this intense refining fire with a flawless verdict from the judge. You have found nothing.
Okay, moving on to Act 2, the plea for protection.
So, building on his clear legal standing and the fact that the audit turned up absolutely nothing, David now outlines an authoritative defense strategy. He calls out for a localized, physical manifestation of covenant protection. He uses the Hebrew word hapaleh. He's asking Yahweh to show marvelous loving kindness to basically set him apart as a literal miracle. He's asking for the exact same unique, separating power that spared the region of Goshen when the plagues were devastating the rest of Egypt.
And now this is super interesting. David uses a biological metaphor to describe exactly how he wants to be protected. Kishon bat ayin, which translates to the little man of the daughter of the eye. He's talking about the pupil. Think about human biology for a second. The pupil is our most sensitive, biologically prioritized organ. When any threat appears, what happens? Your eyelids snap shut automatically by reflex. David is boldly asking for that exact same automatic defensive reflex from heaven.
Furthermore, he layers this with a second profound metaphor. He invokes the shadow of the wings. Now, on a basic level, sure, this is a mother bird shielding her chicks from predators. But for a Torah keeper, this carries massive, explicit sanctuary imagery. It points directly to the golden wings of the cherubim spread over the mercy seat on the Ark of the Covenant. To be hidden under that shadow is to be rendered completely, literally untouchable by human malice.
That brings us to Act 3, the prosecution. Having established his innocence and secured his divine protection, David pivots. He provides a vivid diagnostic profiling of his antagonists, the worldly, lawless elite who are currently hunting him. And he describes these adversaries in terrifying terms. They've closed up their fat hearts. Their wealth and self-reliance have completely insulated them from normal human empathy or, honestly, any fear of divine surveillance. He doesn't view them as rational political actors, but as unfeeling stalking beasts, like a young lion crouching low to the earth, operating on raw, calculated malice, just waiting for that perfect moment of vulnerability to strike. The crucial takeaway here is the stark contrast David sets up between the worldly elite and the righteous petitioner. Yes, the elite have the upper hand right now. They have full bellies, material wealth, and the sheer power to surround their enemies. But David, despite facing immediate and terrifying physical danger, holds something they don't: a totally secure, eternal inheritance. Let's break down what we can call the tragedy of the material portion. On their ledger, their identity rests entirely as men of the world who have their portion in this life. Their satisfaction? Earthly abundance. Their legacy? Material wealth left to their kids. But look at their eternal ledger. It is completely empty. Their balance sheet permanently terminates at the grave. They have zero equity in the world to come because they traded eternal glory for a fleeting moment of physical comfort.
Finally, we reach Act 4, the verdict and precedent.
The psalm concludes with this magnificent, defiant pivot. In Hebrew, it's va'ani. As for me, let the wicked accumulate their millions. Let them pass down their real estate. As for me, David says, my compensation package exists in an entirely different reality. Unlike those predators who are satisfied by a belly full of food, David anchors his entire hope in bodily resurrection. He'll only be satisfied when mortality is swallowed up by life, and he awakens in the very likeness of the king. Now, for the Torah-observant believer, this entire courtroom drama, the clean legal slate, the unannounced testing in the dark, the surrounding pack of wild lions, and that triumphant awakening, it doesn't just end with King David. It's seen as being perfectly verified and established as ultimate legal precedent in Messiah Yeshua. In this worldview, he is the only true petitioner who could stand before the bench of heaven and state with absolute, flawless legal precision, the prince of this world comes and has nothing in me. His mouth never transgressed, his feet never slipped. When he was surrounded by mocking, lawless lions on the stake, he didn't call for a human sword. He just committed his spirit to the judge and became the ultimate pioneer of salvation, awakening incorruptible on the third day.
All right, let's wrap things up in our conclusion.
Bringing this all together, how do we actually apply this ancient cosmic precedent to our lives right now? Well, Psalm 17 serves as an operational manual to survive an increasingly hostile and predatory cultural ecosystem. If you feel the squeeze of a society that rewards lawlessness, you have to walk uncompromisingly through the pack using these 3 takeaways. Number 1, keep your speech and internal motives completely free of deceit. Let your legal defense be rooted in true alignment. Number 2, run immediately into the sanctuary of prayer, trusting Yahweh guards you like the pupil of his eye. And number 3, do not envy the material success of those who have their portion exclusively in this life. Their bank accounts might be full, but their eternity is bankrupt. So I'll leave you with this to ponder. Will you trade your eternal glory for a mere moment of physical comfort? Keep your feet locked into his paths without flinching. Face the darkness of this age knowing for sure that the morning is absolutely coming, the sleep of death will be broken, and you will awake fully satisfied in the presence of your king. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep pursuing that clean legal slate.